What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video, and we're going to touch on the news that came out today that I think we were all expecting, but now it is official. Daniel Jones will miss the remainder of the year for the New York Giants, and now this begs the question, what is the future for the Giants at the quarterback position? I'll talk about all of it in this video, touch on something that Joe Judge had to say about the quarterback as well. Of course, we don't know for a fact that Joe Judge will even be back next season with the New York Giants. The way this team has performed, a lot of the fan base, of course, has grown sour on Joe Judge and want him out of here as quickly as possible. We'll see at the end of the year what John Mara decides to do with the head coach, but we'll touch on what Judge had to say about his quarterback, Daniel Jones. Also, going to touch on what I think the New York Giants got to do going forward at the quarterback position, that, of course, involving Jake Fromm. And I wanted to touch on the injury yesterday from Sterling Shepard, who unfortunately tore his Achilles for the New York Giants. And we're going to start with that. This first coming out from Entertainah. The Giants also placed Sterling Shepard on IR, and of course, he's going to be out for the remainder of the season with the torn Achilles. And I think at this point in time, especially when you look at Sterling Shepard's contract, you've probably seen Sterling Shepard for the last time in a New York Giants uniform. After all, he's had a ton of injuries throughout his career with the New York Giants, a lot of it due to concussions, and he's due to make a lot of money next year in the amount of, I think it's $12.5 million. It's going to cost them $8 million to get rid of him, so you're only saving $4.5 million, but I think this is probably going to be the end of the road for Shepard in a New York Giants uniform. The recovery time for something like that could be well over a year, which would mean it would definitely go into portions of next year's season. We know how long it took for Saquon Barkley. The difference was last year, Barkley, it happened week 2 of the NFL season, so he basically had a full season to recover going into this year. Shepard happened at the tail end of the season, so you would think he's not going to be ready to go at the start of the year, and that's unfortunate. Sterling Shepard, to me, is one of the guys that I really, really like on this football team, the longest tenured New York Giant, but in the end, his career is a disappointment, not due mainly to him. A lot of it due to, obviously, things that he can't control, injuries. But the one thing that I want to say, watching that injury yesterday, and I know he's an injury-prone player, New York Giants have got to do something about the turf on this football field. They've got to. And I think Entertainah told me today on Twitter that they changed it 2 years ago. Whatever they did, it probably made it worse. Last year, we remember when Shanahan and the 49ers came to MetLife Stadium, they were playing a back-to-back between the New York Jets and the New York Giants. They talked about the turf. And I fully recognize that not every injury is due to the turf, but this is an incident where I think it probably was. This was a non-contact injury. When you go back and watch the replay, Shepard came up limp as soon as he broke out of his break when he put a lot of pressure on that right foot. And I would have to think that the turf played a factor in that, especially with the reputation that it's had around the league with the New York Giants when opposing teams have come here. I think that's something that John Mara has to invest in, whether it be natural grass or changing something on that field, because things like this cannot continue to happen for the New York Giants, and it's just unfortunate that Sterling Shepard's days are numbered probably for the New York Giants. The next person we're going to touch on is the news about Daniel Jones. Like I said at the top of the video, I think this is something that as fans we all expected. Rumors had come out that the players had already said that they did not expect him to come out and play for the remainder of the year. Maybe the Giants are being cautious here. Maybe they're not. Of course, Daniel Jones has not gotten doctor approval in terms of being able to take contact. He's practiced with the New York Giants each of the last 2 or 3 weeks. Now the New York Giants are officially shutting him down. This coming out from Adam Schefter. Giants are shutting down quarterback Daniel Jones for the remainder of the season because of his neck injury, per Jordan Raanan. And then what does that mean? You know, where are the New York Giants going from here? Because at the end of the day, if you're being fair to yourself, you have to look at it from not a fan's perspective. Daniel Jones is now going to be entering year 4 of his contract with the New York Giants, and there's a good chance he probably will be healthy enough to play, and that's obviously where my first thoughts go. I want this guy to still have an opportunity to push on and play the game that he loves. But at the end of the day, Daniel Jones now has missed 10 games due to injury in just 3 years, and he's missed time in each of the 3 seasons. He missed 2 games his first year, he missed 2 games his second year, and he missed 6 games this year. That's not including the game in which he played 2 years ago against the Arizona Cardinals when he clearly was not himself, where obviously it limited him as a player, and this past year against the Dallas Cowboys where he missed the last 3 quarters of the game. So when you really think about it, he's missed more like 11 or 12 games since he's been with the New York Giants in just 3 years. And like I said, it's not over one season. It's happened each of the first 3 years. And of course, Daniel Jones, we all know, not getting the job done, at least in the win-loss department. You could certainly argue that he does not have the help around him, and I completely understand that argument because it's an argument I've made myself in the past. But regardless, I don't see how he's going to be the long-term answer for this football team at this point in time, which is what I said in a video about, 2 or 3 weeks ago when I talked about the quarterback position. Maybe he'll be back next year. What I worry about as a Giants fan is the Giants potentially forcing a quarterback pick, which is something I do not want them to do. But obviously, it's definitely a possibility, especially depending on who comes in terms of the new general manager for the New York Giants. This coming out from Ralph Vacchiano, according to what Joe Judge had to say regarding this situation. Now, the first thing I want to say, like I said earlier in the video, take into account that we don't know for a fact that Joe Judge is going to be back next year, and also take into account that Joe Judge has said some things this year that really makes you scratch your head, being that, he likes the effort of the players, talking about Nate Solder and how he thinks he's done a great job. He's a guy that is always going to prop up his players on the football team, and I question whether or not he feels as strongly as it comes across in this quote about Daniel Jones as he says. But this coming out from Ralph Vacchiano. Joe Judge said, "I've seen enough growth from Daniel to see he's the one to go ahead and play with." There's no other way to interpret that quote. According to him, if he's being a man of his word, Joe Judge, if he is back with the New York Giants next year as the head coach, he thinks Daniel Jones is going to be the guy that suits up and plays for the New York Giants. Now, you can take it for any way that you want, and maybe his opinion will change in the offseason, or maybe he's just saying things that he thinks he should say, being that he's the coach of the football team and wants Daniel Jones to have a quick and speedy recovery. I still think if Jones can play next year, especially if Judge is back, there's a strong possibility he will be the starter for the Giants. I definitely question whether or not he'll be the long-term answer, but of course a lot of that's going to come down to trade rumors with guys like Russell Wilson, potential draft picks, taking a quarterback early in next year's draft. If it was me, I would sooner try to push forward with Jones and maybe a guy that is a strong backup going forward. Of course, with the injury problems, he's definitely going to need a much better backup, which is going to turn me. And when I say that, that doesn't mean I want him after year 4. I don't sign him on the 5th-year option. And the following year, if I feel stronger about the draft class, I probably go out there and get a quarterback. But that's now going to turn me to Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm finally got his opportunity, and I talked about bringing in a stronger backup next year for the New York Giants at the quarterback position. Of course, this year, Mike Glennon was the backup. The year before, Colt McCoy was the backup. And while Colt McCoy did win a game for the New York Giants against the Seattle Seahawks, which is probably our biggest win going all the way back to 2016, a game in which nobody thought we were going to win, going up against Russell Wilson, I think we could all agree that Colt McCoy really didn't do too much for this football team. He was a guy that basically came in and handed the football off. Fromm is a guy that finally got an opportunity for the New York Giants, and I think a lot of New York Giants fans are really excited to see what this kid's got over the final 3 games. I'm going to remain even keel. I'm going to remain with limited expectations. Why do you ask? Because I'm a guy that's been let down by this, by having high expectations for players in the past and thinking that they could grow. Fromm's a guy that came into the league as a 5th-round pick for the Buffalo Bills, was coming out of Georgia, was thought to be a winner, but a guy with limitations. And I think he does have limitations, if you're being honest with yourself, even on that drive. Also, take in the context of that drive. It was a prevent defense, being that they were up by 2 touchdowns, 2 minutes to go. But I am certainly on board with all the fans that want to see Jake Fromm, because I, as a fan, want to at least see and analyze whether or not this guy could at least be a suitable backup going into next year for the New York Giants. By no means do I think that Jake Fromm is going to be a long-term answer for this football team, but there were some things on that drive that I liked. Again, taking it all into context, the fact that they were down by 14 with 2 minutes to go probably made it a little bit easier on him. The fact that the defense wasn't preparing for him going into that game, being that he wasn't the starter. But that is what these next 3 weeks are for, when some teams get a book on him, and we'll see how Jake Fromm performs. Don't get too ahead of yourselves. We all remember Mike White earlier this season for the New York Jets, who got off to a great start for 2 games, and then he got smacked back down to earth with a 4-interception game. But regardless, it's a lot more exciting than seeing a giraffe neck quarterback, Mike Glennon, suiting up each and every week, and seeing somebody fresh and new with Jake Fromm. He threw for 82 yards in the last game, and I think he had a 50% completion percentage, but some of his throws were impressive. I think you definitely saw some limitations to his game, though. I'll say that. He certainly lacks arm strength. I think that was clearly apparent on a number of those throws, and I could certainly see a lot of floaters coming out of the arm of Jake Fromm. What I did like from Fromm, looked like he was a relatively quick decision maker, and he kind of, especially the throw to Kenny Golladay, the first one, for a gain of about 11 on 3rd down. I thought he did a really good job leading him on that play, and it was good timing skills on Jake Fromm's part. And the other thing that you like to see as a Giants fan is it seems like Fromm made it a focal point to try to feature Golladay as much as possible. I think he gave him 3 or 4 targets on that drive and certainly looked like a step up from Mike Glennon. Jake Fromm certainly, at least in my opinion, will not be a starting quarterback, at least for the New York Giants. We'll see long term, but he's definitely a guy I want to get a look at, and hopefully is somebody that maybe we could have confidence going into next year, could be at least a suitable backup for Daniel Jones if Jones is back with the Giants as the starting quarterback. According to Judge, he will be. Take that with a grain of salt, because right now we don't know for a fact that Joe Judge is going to be the head coach for the New York Giants. But if you ask me right now, I'd probably be leaning that Jones will be back, but that's far from a foregone conclusion. The first thing we got to find out is who's the general manager going to be going into 2022. Of course, if and probably when they replace Dave Gettleman, all of a sudden, there's no ties to Daniel Jones entering year 4. I'd be shocked if they give him the 5th-year option. But I'm leaning that Jones could be back on the 4th year. But the fact that he has not shown enough progress this year, and the fact that he's had as much injury history as he had or has had already in his young career, I think eventually the New York Giants are going to hit the reset button at the quarterback position, which means either draft or potentially trying to bring in an established veteran. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.